Right now, there's not a lot of sports being played and being produced, but the VBox systems also lend themselves really well into a remote production workflow. And you actually have some interesting case studies to share with us right along those lines. So let's get into that remote workflow capability with the VBox.
Exactly. So as when we designed from the beginning, we designed the system looking forward and really being able to be designed future proof. When we talk about that, it's for these scenarios for remote production. So we always designed it thinking we want to be able to have either the hardware or the people at site, remotely located at the broadcast center at home, or potentially in the cloud as far as the hardware goes. So we've designed it that way. So we've had that, and now, with the situation we have now, remote productions become even more important. So why? Because now it's about safety. We never had to really think. Well, you always talk about safety, but now because of the virus, it's having less people on site. So less people, but our system is designed to have less people doing a production. So, before where you typically might have a larger production crew, now with our system, you could have much less people, but still not compromising on the quality. Because one big difference about our system and others, and why an ESPN, for example, came to us to do these shows, is because of the quality. They don't feel that they're sacrificing quality. They feel confident that they can put our system on their linear channels, and the quality, the look is not jeopardized in using our system. So again, you reduce travel costs when you don't have people going on site, increasing productivity because of the way that our system is designed. We look at a production, we've tried to put automation and simplification for the operator to be able to have that high quality show. And again, the quality. For us, it was very important to make the quality very good, and to the point where you're watching a production coming from a traditional truck, many users, a lot of hardware, and our system, the quality of what you're seeing is not going to be jeopardized, and that's very important for us.
No, and I think that's important for the broadcast industry as a whole. The last thing we want to do right now is get our audience familiar with or accepting a lower quality production. We want to be able to maintain that production quality no matter where that production has to be driven from. So Greg, what makes the VBox remote production unique to some of the other solutions out there?
So yeah, as we've been talking about, and Chuck mentioned, because we're software architecture, and the way we've designed it, you have you have independence between the back end, whether it's running on hardware or eventually in the cloud, and the UI that the operator is using. So we've designed it from the beginning that the operator doesn't have to be attached to that piece of hardware locally, let's say in a truck. So if you look at a college campus, for example, the hardware could be at the venue, and I, as an operator, because my UI connects over a LAN, for example, to that backend, I could be somewhere else on campus and be able to drive that system that is elsewhere. We talk about redundant operations. So, for example, again, because we have multi-user capabilities or the simplicity to connect to that server, if something happens with my UI, for example, I can have redundancy where I can have another unit or another operator quickly connect to the back-end server and be able to continue the production, or having multiple users to do those functions. Extremely small footprint. So yeah, we're talking about, when we talk about at-home productions, a lot of people are talking about at home, but then, you might see a picture of, a living room full of all this equipment, and a lot of people aren't able to do that. So for us, with our UI, you're literally talking about a PC and a touch screen, and from that, because of the way we've designed it and all the video and capabilities that you need are within that touch screen, you really can work on a tabletop and be able to do a high-level production. And then with the UI gateway, which I'll talk about a little bit, that piece added in there really allows an at-home, because now we've allowed bandwidth to be as low as 5 megabits per second. We will probably run more around 20, but really being able to work from home with a home internet connection.
And Greg, I have to tell you, I think the touchscreen is really a great move. We're seeing the touchscreen really ease that ease of use, and the graphic user interface on a touchscreen makes things a lot easier, but it's also generational. As you're starting to get these younger producers come in and being expected to drive the show, they're used to working on these touchscreen devices and being able to have as many controls as they need right there in front of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Most of the times when we talk about what we're doing, that the producer or director that comes has never seen our system before. They have not seen the system, and they get in front of it. They might spend an hour. We give them a very quick training, and within that an hour or two, they're actually putting content on air. So sure, with time, they get better and better, but most of the time, they have not seen our system. We give them a brief overview, and they're able to produce very good content with our system, and that's very, very important.
That's great. And here we have an example of the remote user on the same LAN as the backend server.
Yeah, so our system was designed this way from the beginning. So again, you have the user interface, and in this example, we're showing, an Intel NUC, a very small form factor, which is running the UI. So the UI the operator sees in front of them, and that gets connected to the back end. So in a LAN setup, you can run this and be remotely located. But in that scenario, you're going to need about 125 megabits per second. So doing that on an at-home type of setup is not ideal because you might not have the connectivity. But again, it's showing the fact that from the beginning we've been designed to do that. So now if we go to the next slide, the UI Gateway, which is a product we just released, this really gets put in place with the back-end server, and the big difference is that we are taking the video, essentially, that's being presented to the operator on their UI, and we're creating a much lower, a very low latency, lower bit rate connection. So now that 125 comes down to, say, 20 megabits per second. So most people are going to have that connectivity at home, and now I'm able to do that at home. So now I have a PC that I can set up that connects to the UI Gateway and the server, which might be in a broadcast center, and I'm able to do the production. And these are the types of this is the setup that we have with ESPN at the moment.
That's great. And then
Yeah,
here you're showing
now
that set up with multiple users.
Yes, correct. So this gets a little bit more of a technical drawing, but it's showing the idea. So at your production center, broadcast center, perhaps this could be a smaller mobile truck that's on site. You have all of your hardware. So that will be our server, the UI Gateway. You might have a NAS storage for content that you want to export or import in. You can have your audio mixer, and then probably your NDI graphics engine. So those could all be located, together at the facility, and then remotely connected. You could have multiple users at home doing the different roles that they have. So two of these users here, for example, are our ViBox users. One would be sort of the TD director, the other replay, and then, for example, the graphics operator would be remotely located, triggering the NDI graphics that would be able to be keyed into our system. One other important part that the UI Gateway does is it also provides a multi-viewer output for these users. So again, at home, being able to see the sources, or perhaps there's another producer elsewhere from these, let's say, three positions, but they want to see the content. We can provide an output, a web browse output from the UI Gateway to be able to do that, including audio. So it's a very important component of this type of setup. And you don't have comms here and other things, but certainly there are other great solutions out there that you can incorporate into the system and really have a powerful at-home production.